Okay, good day. Welcome to our discussion of the accounting information system. Okay, and the first chapter of which is the information system, an accountant's perspective. So for today's objectives, we have this various items to be discussed. So let's start with the information flow. Okay, so information is one of the vital resources of the business. So this information is being used by various users of information so that they could make decisions. So we need to understand the internal and external flow of information so that we could prepare the accounting information system that would fit this particular users. So first, we have the operations personnel who knows the day-to-day operations, and with their day-to-day operation information, okay, such as let's say daily sales, okay, which is related to customer information, as well as purchasing, no, which is related to suppliers, the the laborers, no, or even the salaries of the employees. It's more on the operations personnel that we have the data about detailed, no, information. Now, this detailed information, okay, is being passed on to the operations management, which is the reason behind controlling of the day-to-day operations. Now, the operations management will now give the information to the middle management, which will be used for short-term planning. And this short-term planning information is now transferred to the top management to create naman long-term, no, plans as well as long-term forecasts. So the information flow inside the organization is somehow vertical or even horizontal. So you have two types of internal information flow. So the horizontal flow is focused more on the operations level, which captures the transactions and operations data. So as you can see here in our operations personnel level, now we have the light blue color, no, line wherein it shows us that information flows in the operations personnel, no, on a horizontal basis. Okay, they exchange information for their day-to-day operation. On the other hand, we have the vertical flow of information, which could be classified as downward or even upward. So on the downward information, so the top level management will give instructions, the quota, the budget, which will be cascaded up to the operations personnel. Now, on the other hand, we have the upward, wherein the information from the operations, okay, will be passed on up to the top level management. Okay, it's more on the performance information, and that's what we know as upward, okay, information flow. Okay, so we need to understand the flow of information because, no, each of this users group or even each of this user has a unique information requirement, okay, that as you go up or even as you go down, iba-iba sila ng kailangang information. Of course, the lower level part, which is more on the operations, they need the detailed, okay, detailed information. But as it goes higher up to the top level management, okay, the top level management, okay, needs less details as well as aggregated information already. So we need to understand the flow as well as the information requirements of the users so that we can incorporate them in creating a good accounting information system. Okay, so that's all about information. Now let's talk about naman what a system is. So a system is a group of interrelated multiple components or subsystems that serve a common purpose. So it's just like a computer system, which consists of the hardware, the software, and the liveware. Okay, so each of these are interrelated, and their purpose is to create a computer system that could be used for researching, for studying, or even for playing, di ba? Okay, so a system, okay, could be having a decomposition or even interdependency. So pag sinabi natin system decomposition, it's more on the process of dividing the system into smaller subsystem part. So bakit natin kailangan i-divide ang system, okay, into smaller parts? It's because of the fact na a decomposition is convenient way of representing, viewing, and understanding the relationship among subsystems. So by decomposing a system, we can present the overall system as a hierarchy and a view of relationship between the subordinate and higher level subsystem. Okay, so ma-distinguish natin, di ba, yung interrelated parts na yun, okay, ito palang subsystem na to is much higher level subsystem compared with the others. Okay? On the other hand, we have system interdependency, wherein it means the system's ability to achieve its goal depends on the effective functioning and harmonious interaction of its subsystem. Okay? So, a system, as mentioned to you a while ago, is consists of multiple or even smaller system or subsystems. Okay? All are distinct parts that should be functioning properly. No? They should be interrelated, they should function properly. Why? Because if one fails, okay, let's say for the computer system na example ko kanina, yung tatlong parts na yun, liveware, hardware, software. Let's say for example, si software nag-shutdown. Okay? So it means that the whole system will not function anymore. So we need to understand that as we decompose it into a smaller unit, we need to understand that this smaller unit needs to be interdependent, needs to be harmonized, and needs to be functioning, no, in order for us to achieve its purpose so that the system will not fail. Okay? Any question? Okay. So, discussing separately kanina information as well as system. Ngayon naman, let's understand the combination an information system. So, an information system is a set of formal procedures by which a data, okay, is being collected, processed, and then distributed to a user, okay, for decision making. So, let's understand ano yung data that was being collected. So, it's all about a transaction. So, a transaction is a business event, no, which contains either financial or even non-financial information. So, for a financial transaction, okay, it's more on economic events that affect the assets, even the liabilities, no, and capital or equity of the organization. So, basic accounting, di ba? Once a transaction is financial, it means it affects and it has a monetary effect in the business. Let's say, for example, a purchase of an airplane ticket, di ba? So, kapag nag-purchase tayo, we have paid. Magdi-decrease yung asset. Then, we will recognize somehow expenditure, okay, which will decrease our capital or equity. Now, considering that, no, we have as well non-financial information or non-financial transactions, which are all other events, okay, processed by the organization's information system other than financial transactions. Okay, so let's say for example, we have the airplane recognition, airplane reservation. So on an airplane reservation, without yet paying it, okay, there's no commitment by the customer. And in that case, since no commitment pa to purchase siya, ibig sabihin we don't have yet any liabilities, we don't have yet any decrease in cash. Okay, so that's a non-financial transaction. So this transaction gives us the financial as well as non-financial data, okay, that will be collected and processed by the information system as discussed kanina sa definition. And as this information process that data, it will now turn into an information, and that information will be used by the user, okay, whether internal or external, in order for them to make decisions. Okay, so that's how an information system works. So any question? Now, let's identify naman what is an accounting information system. As you all know, way back your basic accounting is an information system, which is process of identifying, collecting, processes, and communicates an economic information about a firm using a wide variety of technology. So kanina sa definition natin ng information system, okay, we have the input, the data, no, which will be collected, then processed, and then it will serve as an information that will be used for decision making, and it is relevant to this definition. Now, this accounting information system captures and records the financial effects of the firm's transactions. It also distributes transaction information to operations personnel in order for them to coordinate many tasks. Now, let's try to compare an accounting information system with a management information system. Okay, so kanina, an accounting information system, okay, collects data, whether financial or non-financial, okay, that will be processed into information that could be used by the users in making decisions. So an accounting information system includes financial transactions such as sale of goods, as well as non-financial transactions that directly affect the processing of financial transactions. So example of which is addition of newly approved vendor. So bakit po kailangan addition of newly approved vendor accounting information system? Yes, no, later on our maybe that's around chapter 5 on the expenditure cycle. So one part of the process there would be adding the newly approved vendor, because as you encode the data about the purchases from this particular vendor, okay, so we can already have this particular process, no, na related dun sa financial transaction, okay. While on the other hand, management information system only focuses on non-financial transactions that are not normally processed by a traditional accounting system, such as, let's say, for example, tracking of customer complaints, which is technically, as the organization grow in size and complexity, specialized functional areas emerge, requiring additional information, no, which could be used in the production or even in the planning or control of the business natin. Okay? So, that's the distinction between an accounting information system and management information system. No? An accounting information system processes both financial and non-financial transactions that are related to financial transaction, while management information system, okay, are processing the non-financial transactions that cannot be normally processed in a traditional accounting information system. Okay, another view about accounting information system and management information system. So information system as a overall, no, is subdivided into accounting information and management information system. Okay, so later on the accounting information system, we will be discussing the uh, three particular major subsystem, which is una yung TP na nandiyan, TPS, which is the transactional processing system. Then the GLS, which is the general ledger, okay, saka yung FRS, which is financial reporting system, and also MRS, which is the management reporting system. While the management information system are all of the systems used by the various departments or even subsystems such as financial management system, marketing, distribution, human resource system. So we will be focusing more on with the accounting information system. Okay, any questions so far? Now let's talk about the accounting information subsystems. So first, we have the TPS, which is the transaction processing system, which supports the daily business operations, okay, with numerous reports, documents, and messages for users throughout the organization. Then we have as well the general ledger or financial reporting system, which is producing the traditional financial statements, such as the statement of comprehensive income, the balance sheet, the statement of cash flows, the tax returns, and other reports required by the law or even the international reporting standards. Okay, and lastly, we have the management reporting system, which produces um, internal management with special purpose financial reports or modified reports that could be used by the internal users in making decisions. So, um, hindi siya MIS, which is Management Information System. It is Management Reporting System. So, it's still an integrated part of the AIS. Diba? Samantalang yung MIS kanina, kapag hindi siya nagawa nitong AIS, then that's MIS. Okay? So, the general model of accounting information system. So, it starts, okay, balikan natin yung definition kanina ha. So, an accounting information system is the one that collects whether financial or non-financial information, okay, from external sources of data or even internal sources of data. It will be collected, then it will be processed, no, by the database management. Okay, then after it was being processed, we have already the information that could be generated and could be used already by external end users. On the other hand, this information can also be used under the internal end users, no, in making decision and use this as feedback, no, for an internal source of data that could be again used for data collection. So overall, no, this is an accounting information system framework of our business organization. Okay, so itong mga ito, no, it will be discussed thoroughly as we move with our discussion on the various chapters. Okay, paano yung processing, paano yung data collection, and the likes. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so let's start with the overview of the sources of data. So we have the data source. So the data sources are financial transactions that enter the information system from internal or external source. So kanina dun sa presentation ng general process ng isang general model for an accounting information system, okay, so it's more on the external, no, but we have two financial transactions. We have external and internal. So under the external financial transaction, which is an external source, no, are the most common sources of data for most organizations. So it includes ano ba external processes natin. So sales, diba? The information about the sales of goods or services, even the purchase from the supplier, okay, the purchase of inventory or even materials used in processing, okay, the receipt of cash and disbursement including payroll. So those are the external data sources. On the other hand, internally, now we have the exchange or movement of resources within the organization. Okay, so example of which is the movement of raw materials into work in progress. Okay, napag-aralan nyo sa accounting, di ba? From raw, it is processed. Okay, merong additional cost, so naging WIP. Then also, as it moves along going to the finished goods, so it accumulates costs. And those are some sort of internal financial transactions which can be an internal source of data. Okay? So, this data, okay, by the way, ano ba yung data? Data are facts which or may not be processed, okay, and have no direct effect on the users. So, data pa lang siya. Wala pa siya talagang effect to the users. Now, we need to transform those data into an information. Okay, by the way, ano bang information? So, an information causes the users to take actions. So, raw data. Yung raw data na yun, ipoprocess natin para maging information na kagamit-gamit para sa mga users. So, in transforming the data into information, we have the various functions, okay, in transforming data. We have the data collection, the data processing, the data management, at saka information generation. Okay, so let's start with the data collection. So nung meron na tayong data coming from external or even internal sources, okay, the data collection is the first operational stage in an information system. The objective is to ensure that the event data entering the system are valid, okay, dapat valid pag nagko-collect tayo, okay, complete, and free from material errors. So in respect to this, no, the most important stage in the system is data collection. Okay, we need to capture all of the transaction data, record the data into forms, okay, and validate and edit those data. Kasi, bakit? Alam nyo naman yan, di ba? Na kapag mali ang data source natin, malamang mali yung mapaprocess, mali na rin yung mabibigay na information. So, everything boils down with this first step, no, the data collection. So, again, take note that it is very crucial in understanding that there should be no error, okay, in the data collection. Okay? Then, after data collection, we have the data processing. So, once collected, data usually require processing to produce information. So, tasks in the data processing stage range from simple to complex, no, processes. So, it includes classifying, transcribing, no, kaya naman sorting, ibabatch natin, merging data, calculating it, summarizing, or even comparing. So, in the accounting information system, you need not to do it manually, no? It's already an input already in the system that will do the data processing. Okay? So, this data being processed will be stored, retrieved, or even be deleted in a data management. Okay? So, ano ba tong database? So, the organization's database is a physical repository for financial and non-financial data. It can be a filing cabinet or even a computer disk or even sa panahon ngayon, USB, or even it could be an online drive na, no? Wherein we can upload the data to store it and then afterwards you can retrieve it. Okay? So, it is important for us also to take note that in data management, no, the information needs to be stored properly. Otherwise, no, kapag nagsabog-sabog yan, then wala ring gamit yung na-process na natin na data. Okay? So, after it was being stored, you can now retrieve it, okay, for information generation. So, in an information generation process, okay, so it's a process of compiling, arranging, formatting, or even presenting information to the users. Okay, so also this information generation is already innate in a good accounting information system. Why? Kasi pwede mong i-click na lang yung isang part doon, then ma-generate na natin ano ba yung kailangan based on the needs of the users. Kaya nga kanina, di ba, we have discussed the information requirements because it is, sabi natin kanina, unique for each of the users yung kanilang requirement as to data. So in the information generation, no, in a good accounting information system, no, may format na yan. Halimbawa, kailangan ng manager ng ganito, okay, pwede natin i-pull out, i-download lang natin siya based on the format of the manager, or even baka kailangan siya ng day-to-day operations, then it could be already presented as needed by those particular users. Okay? So, any question on those information transformation? Okay? So now, after this information was being generated, let's talk about naman the characteristic of this information to become useful. So, based on, alam naman ninyo, di ba, in basic accounting discussion and also in the conceptual framework, na pwede natin i-relate to dito, no? We have, number one, an information to be useful, it should be relevant. So, it serves the purpose of why we have processed this data and why we have this information. A timeliness, no older than the time period of action it supports. So we need a timely report, a timely information so that we can have a timely decision. Okay, accuracy. Kanina, na-emphasize na natin yan doon sa data collection that it should be free from error or any bias. Okay, so that Every part of this data could be used by the users. Now, completeness. All information essential to a decision or task is being present. And summarization, so aggregated in accordance with the user's needs. So, as mentioned to you also a while ago, it needs to fit kung ano ba yung purpose na meron tayo, okay, for each of these particular users' needs. Okay? Any questions? Okay, next, let's try to understand the information system objectives. Each organization must tailor its information system to the needs of its users. Okay, therefore, specific information system objectives may differ from firm to firm. There are three fundamental objectives, okay, which are common to all of these systems. Okay, number one is the stewardship function of management. So ano ba tong stewardship na to? So a stewardship refers to management's responsibility to properly manage the resources of the firm. Okay, yung information system natin which provides information about yung utilization ng resources to external users via the traditional financial statements that we have and other mandated reports. So internally naman, no, we have the management which receives stewardship information from various responsibility reports. So innate sa lahat ng mga information system in various businesses itong stewardship function na to ng management. Okay? Another fundamental objective ng information system is it supports the management decision making. So kanina pa natin binabanggit that after the information was being data was being processed and it becomes now an information. So the information system supplies every users with the information that they could use in decision making. So we have the management in general, no, which receives this information and makes decision, okay, for the basis of the operations of the business. And lastly, no, which is another innate objective, okay, is the firm's day-to-day operations. Okay, so the accounting information system supports the day-to-day operation, okay, by providing personnel to assist them in an efficient and effective discharge of their daily tasks. Okay? Next, let's talk about naman the organizational structure. So the structure of the organization reflects, okay, the responsibility, authority, and accountability throughout the organization. Firms achieve their overall objectives by establishing measurable financial goals for their operational units. So, segmenting by business function, okay, is a very common method in organizing a business. Okay? Understanding yung pattern of responsibility, authority, at saka yung accountability is essential in assessing the user's information needs. Okay, di ba kanina dun sa triangular o sa pyramid natin, di ba, we have discussed some sort of organizational structure and it's very important for us so that we could know the information needs of each of those users. So that's the importance of an organizational structure. Now let's talk about the functional areas as a result of the segmentation by business function. So we have first the inventory or material management, which is its objective is to plan and control the materials inventory of the company. Okay? So a manufacturing firm must be sufficient in terms of inventories on hand to meet the production needs and yet to avoid excessive inventories. Okay? On the other hand, we have the production naman. So the production activities occurs in a conversion cycle in which the raw materials, labor, plant assets are used to create the finished goods. Okay? So it's more on the production planning, the quality controls, and the maintenance. We have also another functional area which is the marketing naman. So the marketing function deals with the strategic problem of product promotion, advertising, and market research. So in terms of distribution, Okay, it is the activity of getting the product to the customer after the sale. Then another functional area is personnel. So the objective of personnel function is to effectively manage these resources, because one of the great resources of an entity is actually its personnel. Okay, so next functional area would be finance. So your finance management manages the financial resources of the firm through banking and treasury activities, even portfolio management and other activities. And then we have the accounting function, which manages the information source of the firm. It plays two important roles in transaction processing. Number one, yung accounting captures and records the financial data na nabanggit kanina. Okay, then also it includes events as the movement of raw materials and other items, no? And the second is that the accounting function distributes transaction information to operations personnel to coordinate, okay, many of their daily tasks. Okay, and lastly is your computer services. So it talks about the information, no? Information maintenance, no? Yung mga computer services functional area, the IT area. So these are the various functional areas. And bakit nga ba natin na-discuss to at nadaanan? It's because of the fact that as firm organizes its business into segments, it promotes internal efficiencies through the specialization. So, di ba may various specializations sila, okay, of labor and cost-effective resource allocation. Okay, so that's one important thing that you need into account. Next, let's talk about separately accounting independence. So, an information reliability, okay, requires accounting independence. So, when we talk about accounting independence, it talks about the accounting activities, or the accounting functional area must be separate and independent of the functional areas maintaining the resources. So, hindi natin pwedeng gawin na magkaroon tayo ng both duties ng accounting as well as maintaining the resources. Why? It's because una, di ba, there should be a segregation of authority or segregation of duty. And also, no, if once na same ito at hindi nag-separate at hindi independent, then we have now, kumbaga, a problem in terms of data integrity. Okay, kasi baka mamaya may nanipila ni accounting yung data ng maintaining resources. Also, now in accounting independence, accounting supports this function with information. So, sinusupport na accounting yung various functional areas, but does not actively participate. So, meaning, we just support them with data, but hindi tayo yung nandun sa may personnel, hindi tayo yung may nandoon sa finance, or even the distribution, no? We just support them with the information that they need. And also, decision makers in this function require that such vital information be supplied by an independent source to ensure its integrity. So, nabanggit ko na kanina, okay, accounting should be a separate functional area so that the integrity of it would be, kumbaga, ensured. Okay? Any question? So, balikan lang natin yung computer services function natin kanina. So, this computer services function contains both the centralized data processing as well as distributed data processing. So, let's just have a short comparison between these two. So, kapag sinabi nating data, distributed data processing, so it's one that reorganizing the computer services function into small information processing units that are distributed to the end users and placed under their control. So it's more on the distributed information to the end users already. While the centralized data processing, all data processing is performed by one or more large computer housed at a central site, okay, that serves users throughout the organization. So the primary areas in this particular centralized data processing is the data administration, data processing, systems development, and systems maintenance. So the IT technology function, itong computer services function na to, okay, like accounting, is associated with the information source. Its activities can be organized in number of different ways. Okay, so most organizational structures fall somewhere between these extremes and embody the elements of both the distributed as well as centralized. Okay? So, any question about the computer service function? So, ano yan kasama yan sa isang accounting information system. We need the computer services function so that we could be able to process the information, process the data properly to become an information. Okay? Mga IT-related functions pa. Okay? So, we have the systems development, the database administration, at saka yung database processes natin na naglalaman ng various new systems development, system maintenance, data control, preparation. Okay, so, ito yung mga various IT functions in a centralized system. Okay? Ito naman yung sa distributed. As you can see, anong pinagkaiba ng centralized? Diba sa centralized, all data processing is performed by one large computer in-house at the central site. So, meron siyang various areas na nabanggit dito sa babang part natin, di ba? The systems development, data administration, at saka data processing. Samantalang sa isang distributed naman na processing system, okay, each of the functions of business has its own information processing unit. Okay? Hindi siya yung centralized na kagaya kanina. Okay? Any question about that? Okay, sir, ano mas maganda? Usually, companies nowadays are using centralized system. Okay? Any question before we proceed? Although most of the companies are using centralized, let's understand potential advantages of the distributed data processing. So one of the advantages is cost reduction in hardware and data entry tasks. Okay? So bakit po tayo nagko-cost reduce in terms of hardware and data entry tasks? It's because of the fact that we can cost reduce, okay? Either the data can be entered and edited at each of the IPUs, yung individual processing unit natin kanina, 'di ba? So, the data can be entered and edited here, kaya naging advantage, eliminating a centralized task on data conversion, at saka naku-cost reduce din yung data entry because of the application's complexity can be reduced, which in turn reduces development and maintenance costs. Aside from that, another advantage is to improve cost control responsibilities. So managers assume the responsibility for all the financial success of information kasi naka-decentralize tayo. Improved user satisfaction, perhaps the most often cited, it's because as previously stated, users desire to control the resources that influence their profitability. Okay? At saka, user wants systems professional who are responsive to their specific situation, and users wants to become more actively involved in developing and implementing their own system. And lastly, yung backup system or yung backup of data can be improved through the use of multiple data storage sites. Okay? So, the potential disadvantages naman ng distributed data processing is somehow loss of control kasi nga, okay, in this wide range of distributed data processing, okay, so what will happen is magkakaroon tayo ng various people who are holding the data. Then mismanagement of companies' resources because of the fact that information processing service represents a significant expenditure for many organizations. Thus, distributing the responsibility for these resources will inevitably lead into the mismanagement and suboptimal utilization of resources. Then, the hardware and software incompatibility. So, distributing the responsibility for hardware and software purchases to users can result into an uncoordinated and poorly conceived decision. Then we have also redundant tasks kasi each of the departments will have the individual processing units which can be done in the centralized na isa na lang, di ba? Consolidating tasks usually segregated. So dahil nga may individual processing units and somehow we need one report, there would be a problem as to the consolidation. No? Kasi another task pa yun. Compared with centralized na kapag syempre naka-centralize na, then the consolidation is already happening already in the central area. Then difficulty in attracting qualified personnel because or even qualified professionals because end user managers may lack the knowledge to evaluate the technical credentials and relevant experience of candidates applying for position as a computer professional. And lastly, no, the last disadvantage is the lack of standards because the distribution of responsibilities, okay, in the distributed data processing environment, the standards for developing and documenting system, choosing programming languages, at saka yung pag-acquire ng hardware at saka software are unevenly applied or non-existent. Okay? So those are the disadvantages. Although some businesses are using distributed, hindi ko sinasabi na lahat are centralized, but based on my experiences na in the BPO companies, we are usually using what is called centralized data processing. Okay? So the next objective is to discuss the evolution naman of information system models. And the first of which is all about the manual process model. So the processing of the information, the transaction, as well as accounting in a manual process model are usually done using the paper documents. So hindi pa talaga siya computerized, manual, no, handwritten. So it is useful in studying because it helps links accounting information system courses to other accounting courses, di ba? Nung nalaman ninyo yung basic accounting na kayo nag-worksheet na pwede pala siyang gawin using an accounting information system. May open easier to understand the processes when not shrouded in technology because one of the fact, no, kapag kasi alam mo yung manual process, kapag nag-down yung system ninyo, accounting information system, which is typical lang na mangyari, halimbawa na wala ng kuryente, nasira yung system, then you can have a backup way how to do things, diba? And even facilitates understanding of internal controls. Kung alam mo yung manual, alam mo kung saan possible magkamali, then as you create the accounting information system, then you can now see kung saan ka dapat mag-put up ng more controls. Okay? So, that's more on the manual process model. Next in the model of the evolution is the flat file model. So itong flat file model na to is also known as the legacy system. Okay, there are large mainframe of systems that were implemented noong late 1960s or even up to 1980s. So itong flat file model na to, it describes an environment in which individual data files are not related in other files. Kaya mapapansin nyo dito, we have the accounting and marketing, okay, standalone processes. Okay, each end user in this environment own their data file rather than sharing them. So ayaw mag-share, di ba? Okay, thus standalone application rather than an integrated systems perform data processing. Okay, so yan, no, individual. Kumbaga, isipin nyo kung lahat ng mga functional areas kanina, we have individual legacy system. So, napakadaming system niyan stand-alone because they don't want to share. Okay? So, dito, merong billing accounts receivable. Actually, kulang pa yan kasi sa accounting, meron pa tayo ng purchasing system, di ba? Okay, consolidation system, yung financial reporting system. Okay? So, one of the problem in the flat file model is about the data redundancy problem. Okay, so in the data redundancy problem, we have number one, the data storage. So sa data storage, excessive storage cost of paper documents or magnetic form, USB o kaya naman disk nila or CDs. No, bakit? Kasi each of the functional areas will have their legacy system. Tigi isa. Ang hirap nun. May storage, ang daming, pero madaming, dahil maraming storage na kailangan, various storage, it would entail large costs. Okay? Data updating. So, in data updating, changes and addition must be performed multiple times. Bakit? Kasi nga magkakaiba yung system. Currency of information. So, in terms of currency of information, in contrast to the problem performing multiple updates, the problem of failing to update all users' files affected by a change in status, no? If update of information is not properly disseminated, the change will not reflect in some users. So, kapag hindi na-update yung isang user, then all will be affected. Then we have task data dependency. So, another problem with the flat file is the user's inability to obtain additional information as needs change. So, the user's information set is constrained by data that he or she possesses and control dahil bawal nga i-share, di ba? Okay, users act independently rather than team member of a user community. And lastly, we have the flat files limit data integration, okay, wherein separate files are difficult to integrate across multiple users. Actually, na-experience ko tong legacy system na to on my first company. No, what happened there is we migrate, no? Yung term namin is to migrate. Ibig sabihin, from various flat file model legacy systems that we have, no, ginawa namin siyang isa. Okay, and that's problematic, but at the end naman, naging mas okay kasi we have avoided data redundancy as well as the other problems that might be encountered in terms of legacy systems. To overcome the concerns about the flat file or legacy system, okay, so we have naman the next is the database model, okay? So an organization can overcome problems with the flat files by having database model to data management. So with the organization's data in a central location, all users have access to the data they need to achieve respective objectives. Access to the data resource is controlled by what we so-called data management system. So, yung different function dito sa ating slide, no, the different functions will have the various views, but they will be integrated only in one software, which is the database management system. It's a special software system that is programmed to know which data elements each user is authorized to access. So, hindi na siya kailangan isa-isa pa, but rather one software system na lang, but the access is only restricted per user, no? Now, if the user requests data that he or she is not authorized to access, then the request is denied. Yun yung kagandahan dito sa database management model. Clearly, the organization's procedures for assigning users authority are an important control issue for the auditors to consider. Okay? So, mas gumaganda na yung information accounting system natin dito sa database management model na to. So, it actually eliminates the data redundancy. Bakit? Kasi each data element is stored only once. Hindi kagaya kanina na kalat-kalat yung storage, dito meron na lang isang database who handles the storage. So, natanggal na yung na-reduce na yung cost, di ba? Yung update natin magiging single na lang kasi nasa one system na lang siya at saka yung mga current values din at changes, it could be integrated already in that database management system immediately. Okay? Any question? So after the data base management model, no, was being introduced, no, also in 1982, no, na-introduce naman yung REA model na tinatawag. So itong REA, it means R, resources, E, events, and A, agents. So this is an accounting framework for modeling an organization's critical resources, events, and agents, and the relationship between them. Okay? Once specified, both accounting and non-accounting data about this phenomena can be identified, captured, and stored in a relational database na tinatawag. Okay? So, itong RHEA model na to is an advanced database technology which have focused on renewed attention. Okay, and we have the R, the resources. Okay, economic resources or the assets of the organization. So yun yung R dito sa image natin. So the inventory are cash, and cash are the assets of the organization. They are defined as the object that are both scarce and under the control of the enterprise. Okay, so the events naman, which is E, no, economic events are phenomena that affects changes in these resources. So they can result from activities such as production, exchange, consumption, and distribution. And lastly, yung ina part, agents. So economic agents are individuals and departments that participate in the economic event. They are parties both inside and outside the organization with discretionary power to use or dispose the economic resources. So itong overall, the RHEA model requires the accounting phenomena be characterized in a manner consistent with the development of multi-users view. So under the RHEA model, business organizations prepare financial statements directly from the event database. Okay? So, kung naguguluhan kayo, itong RHEA model na to is a conceptual model and not a physical system. So many of the tenets, however, are found within the advanced database system. So it's more on a conceptual model lang, no? It's not a physical system just like the database management system natin. Okay? So the most notably application of the RHEA philosophy is seen in the proliferation of the enterprise resource planning system, which will be discussed next. No, any question? Okay, so let's proceed. Because of RHEA a while ago, no, it has proliferated into the what we so called ERP system. So ano ba tong ERP system? It's Enterprise Resource Planning System, okay, which is an information system model that enables an organizations to automate and integrate its key business processes. Actually, itong ERP na to is what is currently being used by entities. No, this ERP breaks down the traditional functional values by facilitating data sharing, information flow, and introduction of common business practices among all organizational users. So, ang ERP na to, okay, packages sold to clients, organizations in modules that support standard processes. Okay? Actually, example of these ERP systems ngayon na ginagamit sa mga private or even public companies are, let's say, for example, Oracle, no? If you have heard that one, or SAP, no? O kaya naman NetSuite. So, it could be an online or on a cloud basis na enterprise resource planning system, okay, which is technically, no, helping various functions, no, by using one system dahil dun sa mga modules. So example of these ERP modules na nasa isang system, ito asset management, financial accounting, human resources, industry, plant maintenance, and the others. Okay, so kwentuhan ko lang kayo about dito, no. At the last part of my discussion pagdating ng after module chapter 12 natin, actually I will be presenting to you yung mga na-access ko na mga systems before once na nagtrabaho ako sa mga private companies, no? I will be sharing some of them to you. And these ERP modules are actually very useful kasi ako, I have an access to financial accounting, no? Since I was the one who is recording the data. in the financial accounting module, but I can have also an access of the production planning, no, asset management, although hindi ko kayang i-edit, kaya ko siyang ma-view. So, with the use of the ERP model, it has the database management, nandun din yung REA, okay, nandun din somehow manual system. So, kumbaga integrated lahat ng mga models na na-discuss kanina. Okay? So, this is one na aabangan natin to be discussed thoroughly sa mga next chapters pa. Okay? So, any questions about this evolution of the accounting information system? Okay, wala naman. Okay? Now, let's talk about the roles naman of accountants. So, we have the accountants as information system users. So, as an accountant, you must be able to clearly convey their needs to the system professionals who designs the system. Okay? So, kapag meron, halimbawa, hindi pa gawa yung system or gagawa pala ng system, you as an accountant should really give those na gumagawa, especially the IT experts, ano yung specific design that your company needs in order for you to have a great accounting information system. No? The accountant should actively participate as well in systems development projects to ensure appropriate systems design. Kasi pag hinayaan lang natin ng IT, it will just depend upon how the IT sees it. But if we are included in creating the accounting information system, then okay, mas mafi-fit natin siya dun sa pangangailangan natin in the process. Okay, kaya before, no, in some of the entities, pwede kayong mag-apply as systems analyst. Actually, ang pinaka gusto nila na matanggap as systems analyst or even systems analyst and even designer are somehow accountants because of the fact that accountants are information users as well as they can try to give feedback about what they need in terms of accounting system. Okay? Another role of accountant is a system designer. Although nabanggit ko na to kanina, no? The accounting function is responsible for conceptual system, while the computer function is responsible for the physical system. The conceptual system determines the nature of the information required, its sources, its destination, the accounting rules that must be applied. Okay? I think you don't have already the subject of systems analysis and design, but before we have that subject. But technically, you being an accountant in the future, okay, should, aside from nabanggit mo kanina, help in creating the information system users needs. Even now, you can design the company's computer system or even accounting system. And lastly, an accountant can act as a system auditor. So it could either be an external auditor which attests the fairness of the financial statements or even the assurance. Okay, you can audit the system. Kaya nga meron tayong IT audits, no, pagdating nyo ng third year, even fourth year, kung not mistaken. Okay, so that you can really evaluate the IT parts naman. Okay, now you have IT auditors as well as internal auditors. So accountant as a system auditor will help to enhance the reliability of the accounting information system, okay, na nabanggit natin kanina. So that's it, no? The information system about the perspective of an accountant. Any question? So this is just simply an overview of what we are going to discuss thoroughly pagdating ng mga next chapters pa. Okay? So, any questions? Okay, so with that, thank you very much.